Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever, and open the bonnet. Remove the protective cover from the shock absorber heads. Brush the shock absorber head nut and spray it with penetrating oil. Using a 6mm Allen key and a 17mm offset wrench, unscrew the nut, holding the suspension strut support bearing by a few threads. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. You must remove the wheels in order to change the front shock absorbers on your car. This will give you full access to the suspension system. Lift the front of the vehicle. Place the vehicle on the axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. Don't forget to slide the wheels under the vehicle. During this operation, you will work on the front end of your car. An alignment check carried out by a professional will ensure that your steering system is once again perfectly adjusted and functioning. You now have to remove the upper ball from the sway bar link. To do this, take a 17mm spanner and a 5mm Allen key. Stop the rotation of the Allen key and remove the nut using the spanner. Using a 12mm spanner, unscrew the brake hose mounting bracket. Then remove it. Unclip the ABS sensor from its mounting bracket. Then, using a pry bar, unclip the ABS sensor retaining clip from the shock absorber. Brush the two screws of the shock absorber base and spray them with degreaser. Using a socket wrench, an 18mm socket and a 17mm spanner, unscrew the two screws on the shock absorber base. Remove the screws from the shock absorber base. Disconnect the shock absorber base from the stub axle. Finish unscrewing the suspension strut support bearing retaining nut. Hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish unscrewing with the other. Remove the shock absorber. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find in the description the tool we use in the video which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful, pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. Check that they're properly held by the locking studs, then slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and the appropriate socket. You can use a 19mm offset wrench and a 6mm Allen key to unscrew the suspension strut support bearing. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. In the most extreme cases, you have to use an impact wrench. Then remove the shock absorber mount, the washer, the bearing, the upper shock absorber support, the shock absorber stop. Remove the shock absorber from the spring.
Okay, guys, if we can share this video with you and help you save a lot of money, is also thanks to our partner, Mr. Auto. So, if you want to support us and buy the part for this operation, visit their website. Okay, back to work.
You will find the bulk parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. Before installing the new shock absorbers, it is necessary to prime them by pressing the shock absorber rod vertically so that the gas and the hydraulic fluid are separated. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Position everything in the spring. Then install the shock absorber stop, the upper shock absorber support, the bearing, the washer, the lower suspension strut support, and finish by screwing the nut on the shock absorber mount. Tightly fix it in place using a 19mm offset wrench while holding the stem with a 6mm Allen key. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. You have now finished preparing the new part. Insert the shock absorber starting from the top part. Replace the upper suspension strut support bearing, then screw its retaining nut by hand. Insert the steering knuckle into the foot of the shock absorber. Put the screws back in place and screw them in. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Put the sway bar link back in place. Finish off the tightening with the torque wrench. Reclip the ABS sensor hose into its housings. Screw the holding based on the brake hose. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put your car back on the ground and block the wheels properly. Final tightening of the suspension strut support bearing nut is done with a torque wrench. Put the plastic protection back on. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.